She was introduced to many of us on season 2 of RuPaul's Drag Race. She came back for AllStars 2 and made us shut up and drive. And if you give her a choice, she may just hurt your feelings. Her name is Tatianna, and she's about to be exposed virtually. Hey, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So I want to get to know a little bit about Tatianna. We're going to go a little deep dive into your life. And let's start with little Tatianna. What was little Tatianna like in Falls Church, Virginia?
Well, little Tatianna was born in Arlington, which is just the next town over, literally like 5 minutes that way. And yeah, I was really artistic as a kid. I had no sense of authority. I was consistently in trouble. And yeah. That was me. I was always in trouble. I was always doing something. Like, I was really big into drawing and sculpting, and I always like got a little, I just was always very crafty. So I was a crafty smartass.
Do you think that influenced a little bit of like you getting into doing drag?
Oh yeah, like when I was a little kid, I was very into like girl stuff and nails. Like, I played with my mom and my aunt's Barbie dolls that they had when they were a kid, which wasn't really like encouraged, but I was like, I'm gonna do it. I would always like sneak and, you know, put makeup on, whether it be my mother's or my aunt's or my grandmother's. I'd find someone's makeup to get up into, so definitely.
So you're just dibbling and dabbling and playing all when you were young?
Oh yeah, I was always playing. I mean, when I was like a little kid, not so much. I mean, definitely Barbies and dolls and stuff were what I was more interested in versus like, I mean, my G.I. Joe became the Ken doll. So, you know, that's where I was at.
When was your first time that you actually donned drag?
Publicly?
Yes.
Ew, that would be, it was a mess, but 8th grade, it was crazy day, and I was like, oh, I'm just going to use this day as an excuse. Like, no one can judge me because it's crazy day. So like, I had a friend's pair of jeans, I borrowed another friend's top, I think I stole my mom's shoes, and another girl let me borrow a wig. I don't even think I wore any makeup. I might have put on some like lip gloss or something, but yeah. And I had water balloon titties.
And then when you ended up, I heard that this story about when you first were starting drag, your name, did it come from Tatianna Ali?
Yes. That was in high school. I think it was like my freshman year. What I would do would just take these like walks down like Lee Highway in Arlington where I lived with my friends. But like get all dolled up in some like hoe-ass crop top and some low-rise jeans with like a thong hanging out. And I was trying to figure out like what my name would be. So I was like going through my CD collection, and I had Tatianna Ali CD, Kiss the Sky. And I was like, ooh, Tatianna sounds good. I'll take that. And so, yeah, that's where it came from.
And then when did you actually get on stage for the first time? When was like your first performance in like a gay club or something like that?
That was in 2007, maybe 2007 or 8. I want to say it was 2007. I'd seen my first drag show. It was at Apex in DC, which no longer exists, but that was the spot. I think it was like a Friday night show, and it was hosted by Christina Kelly, who is a DC legend. And I watched the show and I was like, I can do that. I'm just gonna go ask. So like I went backstage and I was like, I need to talk to Christina Kelly. And they were like, why? I'm like, because I want to be in the show. I'm just gonna ask her if I can. They're like, okay. So I asked her and she's like, I don't know. And I'm like, just let me do it. And she's like, okay, well, like I'll put you on at the end of this month or whatever. And so that's when it did it. And I was real gung-ho about it. So I like bullied my friend Min and Zach into being my backup dancers. We made choreography, and I think the first song I ever performed was Britney Spears' Radar.
Yes, Miss Radar Horse.
And the second song that I did was Cassie's Me and You. Very my aesthetic, to be honest with you. I still stand by those choices.
And then shortly after that, I guess in 2009, you're announced as a contestant on season 2 of RuPaul's Drag Race. Now, I had also heard that you actually auditioned for season 1. Is that true?
I did the online race. So back then, they had an online situation where you uploaded pictures and videos of yourself, and then the public could vote for who they liked. And then every so many days or once a week, they would cut a whole bunch of girls from the competition online. Whoever was the top at the end of that online race got a bid to be on the show, just off of just internet. And so I think season 1, Nina Flowers got it. But I was on the last page, so I made it all the way to the end. But I never sent in an actual audition tape. I was just doing the online stuff. But afterwards, I kind of realized that I wouldn't have gotten it either way because I was only 20. And because it was still sponsored by Absolute, you had to be 21. So, you know, but I tried.
So you end up getting on season 2 of Drag Race. Where were you when you got the phone call that was like, Tatianna, you get to be on season 2?
I was at my best friend Valentina's house. Not that Valentina, a different one. I was at her house, and I had already gone through a few of the preliminary interviews. I had done my psych test, and they called me to let me know I got it. They're like, you can't tell anyone. Meanwhile, like, Valentina's in the room. She knows what's happening. So I was like, okay. And then we hung up, and we screamed and jumped on the bed, and then I called everyone that I knew and told them what I was doing.
So you get on the show. Did you enjoy your time on season 2?
Yes and no. It was I was 21. I was like young and dumb. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just like, this is such an experience. It was my first time on a plane by myself. It was my first time doing a lot of stuff. So in that sense, it was great because it was a learning experience, and I did have fun learning the ropes of like how TV's made and, you know, interview, like, I don't know, that stuff was fun. A lot of my time there was a little like very stressful, lots of tears on my part. Yeah, I guess some of the social interactions weren't the best because I don't think I'd ever been in a situation like that. You know what I mean? Certainly never competed for anything. And I never really, because I wasn't a big part of a drag community. By that point, when I got on the show, I had done my first drag show and then 2 more. And that was it. So like, I didn't have drag queen friends. I just knew like 3 drag queens that I'd worked with a couple of times. So like, that was a lot to take on all at once. But yeah, overall, I find it to be a positive experience.
And one of the non-positive experiences was, you know, there was a little bit of a little cat fight between you and then Tyra Sanchez.
I had asked her to stop nicely, and she's like, okay. And then I walk across the room, and it's like, la, 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 la.
She's almost saying, shit, or I'll make you shut up.
There was a big rumor that was going around the internet that production actually shut down. Is that true?
No, not really. No, when me and Tyra had our big screaming match in each other's faces, you know, whatever, filming had already ended for the day. They had just given us extra time on set to work on our wedding dresses. That whole screaming match happened when I don't think any producers were actually in the room. I think there was like maybe 1 PA. And then they rushed in with like a handy cam. Like it wasn't one of the big cameras. It was like a little camera, I guess just to catch anything that might be deemed entertaining or useful. But by that time, they had asked us to separate. And then it was just kind of like, you know, do your own shit and don't talk to each other. So they didn't really shut down production because we weren't filming when that happened. We were just on set.
Got you. And then looking back on that, when you get home and you see yourself on season 2 of Drag Race, what was the reception like in your town, in your community, like local bars and stuff like that? Like, how was that for you?
I know from my circle of friends and people that I knew from school and that they were super excited and fun. DC, like gay DC was like, who is this person? Who is this? Because we have never seen her before, because I'd only performed once in DC and then twice in Northern Virginia, like the club I performed at with Gigi Paris Couture. It was a Latin club right down the street called Majestic. And so like I had no name in DC. So when they were like, she's from Northern Virginia, they were like, who the hell is this hoe? So yeah, it was a lot like DC gay scene was very like question mark, but all of my friends and family were super excited and they're like, we've been watching you do drags like throughout high school. So it's so great that you made that work for you. So yeah, overall it was positive.
Well, that must have been crazy too, because if you only did 3 drag shows before Drag Race and then you get on Drag Race and then afterwards, were you traveling a lot? Was that like a stun of an experience?
Yeah, like I was like doing it all by myself because I don't think a lot of girls were really represented like they are now. It was a very different business. It really hadn't been, I think the only girls that were really traveling around doing stuff like that was like RuPaul, like Lady Bunny, maybe Coco Peru, you know what I mean? So I had a booking email that I was answering them. And like, yeah, I left my job. I was a hairstylist at the time. I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go do this now. And I did, like for like almost a year-ish. I just kind of lived off of, working full-time as a drag queen, because I'd never had many like that before. Also, I was still living with my family. I was living with my grandparents at the time, and they were like, do you. Ride this till the wheels fall off. So, yeah, it was cool. I did. And then I went back to work a little bit thereafter because, new seasons had come in and everything slows down. But the cool thing about it was because during that time, right after season 2, Town Dance Boutique, which was a major club here in DC, they had a big Pride event and they had me, Morgan, and Sahara do a Pride party. And shortly thereafter, they asked me, since I lived, in the area, to be a part of the cast. So from that year of traveling and working in different places, I got a full-time residency at Town. So that became, my thing. That was my spot, my home. So that was cool.
Well, that's awesome. And then you end up getting on AllStars 2 in 2016. Now,
yes.
Who reached out to you for that, or how did that end up like coming to be? Because everybody else was season 5 or later, right? In AllStars 2?
Yeah, I want to, yes.
I think so. Yeah.
So I got a phone call from one of the producers with World of Wonder asking me if I would be interested. And I was like, yeah, does this mean I'm on? And they're like, no, we're just asking if you're interested. And I was like, well, yes, totally. Just let me know, what you want me to do. And then I just kind of waited and then I got, a few little interviews just seeing like how things have been since the show and what I'm doing now. And then a little bit more waiting. And then they sent me to get the psych test, which I was like, well, that's a good sign. They want to make sure I'm not completely crazy. That means I'm pretty close to getting on the show. And then they let me know that I made it.
Were you like very excited about that? Because Drag Race had blown up more. You're getting into the heyday of like, you're about to be moving to VH1 and all that stuff. Were you over the moon excited to be going back?
Yeah, I was excited to, for one, reintroduce myself as a much more established, self-aware adult compared to like the really naive, little girl that I was on season 2. So reintroduced myself to the public in that light. and then also just introduce myself to all of these new fans all over the world. You know, the show had become such a different creature from, you know, back in 2010. So yeah, I was excited for all of that.
When you walk into the workroom, and your experience on AllStars 2, did you like your experience better on season 2 or AllStars 2?
Oh, AllStars 2. Definitely AllStars 2. Yeah, I was more confident in what I was doing. I knew what I was doing. I obviously, yeah, overall, there was no drama involving me. Yeah, it was overall just a really fun experience. And like also, what's different about AllStars is that you already know the girls you're working with. So that feeling of, at least for me, that kind of sisterhood where we already know each other. Some of us have hung out a lot. Some of us we've only just met, but like we still know each other. That was cool. So I definitely had a lot more fun on AllStars. And I had a lot more like iconic moments. Yeah. And it was overall just positive, so.
Well, one of your most iconic moments was that talent show when you came out with Same Parts.
Because what you see isn't always the truth. Say it with me. What you see isn't always true. Thank you.
Now, how did you come up with that? Like, did you like end up writing that like shortly before? Was that had already done? Like, what was the story behind Same Parts?
The Same Parts, okay. So the Same Parts, I wrote that when I was in high school because it was genuinely about me going to house parties and grinding on dicks. That was my thing. And so, so that's where that came from my true life. But I was not planning on putting that on TV. My original plan, because, I mean, I don't know. Well, no, I think I'm allowed to say it. So like a lot of times with the talent show, they do let you know it's coming, you know, and before you get there. And so they'd ask, like, just to make sure, like, do you want any music? Like, what do you think you're doing? And I had no idea what I was doing. So I thought about it. And then I was like, well, maybe I'll do it was still supposed to be spoken word, but maybe I'll do it, but like using other girls' catchphrases in weird ways. It was supposed to be inspired by, you know, the movie, what the hell was that movie? Not Can't Hardly Wait. 90s teen movies, give them to me. She's All That.
Yeah.
There you go. Remember She's All That with the dwarves that are in the blue suits and they're like saying weird poetry things? Well, that was the inspiration. So that's like what I was gonna do, some weird shit, like doing that, but using other girls' catchphrases. It was, in my mind, it made sense. But then the more I thought about it the night before, I was like, I could get read for using other girls. Like it wouldn't be more about me, it would be more about them. So I still had that music and I still had to use it because it was secured and that's what was happening during rehearsal. So I took the rap, it was a fast rap originally. I took it in my head and I just slowed it down and I replaced all the bad words with things that could be said on television. And yeah, so when I did it on stage at the talent show, that was the first time I'd done that publicly. I had not rehearsed it when we had rehearsals the day before. I didn't rehearse it that morning when we had rehearsals. I was just like, if it's gonna work, it's gonna work. I've been saying these, you know, lyrics in my head for the past like decade and a half, so I'm not gonna forget the words. So I'm very happy that everyone liked it. It was a real like, yeah.
I mean, you end up having Katya still on like, always like talking about it.
Because honey, what you see, oh my God,
Always the truth.
I mean,
Yeah.
what do you think her obsession with it is?
You know, she loves things that make you think. She's a thinker, that one. I think definitely what you see isn't always the truth, really stuck in her. And then also see me with them hands. Like, a lot of people ask me, like, what exactly does that mean? That means, like, do you want to fight? Like, see me with these hands, like, catch these hands, you know? So that's what it meant to me. But to her, she was like, see me with your hands. Like, that weird thing. I don't know what movie it is where he's got the hands with the eyeballs in them. I don't know what that is. I've never seen that movie. But she really was about, like, she thought it was that type of shit. I'm like, you taking it to a real in-depth level that I had not thought about, but good for you. I have to give her props, though, because she made that single sell so much. That's free publicity. She toured more with the same part single than probably I did. So thank you, Katya.
And another iconic moment was your Shut Up and Drive lip sync against Alyssa Edwards. Now, my question for you about this is, in that moment and afterwards, what was the reception like around you? Did you know it was going to be so iconic in that moment?
No. I mean, I hoped. I mean, I don't know. You don't go into that thinking like, I'm going to make this iconic. You're going into it like, I don't want to go home. So I was just pulling out just about every, move I had. And it's weird watching it because it does look like we're always doing not the same move, but something very similar at the same time. Which is just, I guess, me and Alyssa think of music in the same type of way when it comes to movement. But I had no idea it was going to be as big as it became.
I mean, it literally like is on every list as #1. It's the #1 lip sync of like all time.
I mean, I think it would go to Brooklyn and Evie, but I'm fine. Just I'll be the top one. I'll do that. Yeah, it's great that people really loved it so much. And there's not a day that goes by since that has aired that I have not been messaged on Instagram or tweeted or something where someone's like, oh my God, this is iconic, and they'll send it to me, or they'll say like, having a bad day, so I watched this and it made me feel better. Or like, yeah, there literally has not been one day that I have not heard something about that performance. So that's great to leave a good legacy like that.
Yeah, and I mean, you left a really good legacy, and I think you really did prove out that whole AllStars 2. If you would have made it to the top 4, would you have had to have already written that Read You Wrote You part, or did you already have that done, or would that have been told to you later?
They told us about the Read You Wrote You. They told us that was going to be a thing. Probably the night before, I think it was the night before the comedy challenge. No, yes, somewhere in there. It was like the night before I was T-Boz, I want to say. They told us like, there's a challenge coming up, here's the stuff. I think they like uploaded it to our iPods or whatever, because that's what they had us like, go through the music that we would have to learn at some point. They're like, we gave you this, you need to write a verse to it at some point. It's something to think about for the future. It's going to be a thing. And so I was like, okay. And that night I went back to the hotel and wrote out my whole entire, like the base idea of what I wanted it to be, just so I'd be ahead of the curve if I got the opportunity to get there, which I did not.
What was your verse better than Roxxxy Andrews?
You know what? I think Roxxxy Andrews is iconic. I think that verse is iconic. When people think about that, I mean, obviously I love Katya's because it's just, so Katya. But everyone's like, I'm Roxxxy Andrews and I'm here to make it clear. You know what I mean? Like, that's fucking cool. So I love Roxxxy's. Actually, I repurposed the verse for I repurposed that verse, and it's on my album, and it's on the song Shut It Down with Caswell.
I'd be the bitch that keeps it tight. I'd be the bitch that rides all night. I look good even in daylight. That's right.
So it's not wasted, it's used.
Repurposed and reused in a new form.
Yes.
So were you looking back on your time on AllStars 2 and both of your like eliminations on there, how did you feel in those moments? Do you think that you should have stayed longer? Do you feel like you were robbed, as fans would say?
I I mean, do I think I deserved to be sent home on that second elimination of me going home? No, but it wasn't up to the judges. It was up to the competition. So I can't really, you know, be sad or mad about it. I'm also a firm believer that you can't be robbed of something that you didn't own in the first place. And so like, those are the rules. People are going to kick you out and it's not always fair. It is what it is. Yeah, so, I mean, I was happy with what I got to show while I was there. I was very appreciative to be a part of things. So that was cool.
Well, and it turned out so well for you. Like, I literally was like, oh my gosh. Like, when I was watching it, I just remember it being like Tatianna all the way. Like, everything that you were doing was like to a T. Your looks were awesome. Same parts, like Shut Up and Drive. Like, you had so many iconic moments in there. After that, what was reception like on AllStars 2 compared to season 2? Like, did you gain a humongous fan base? Like, what was that like?
Oh yeah, I gained a crazy, like I had a good amount of, you know, followers and supporters online before, but like it blew up big time. Yeah, it was really, really crazy. It was a lot all at once, which was really cool because I feel like I had a good, you know, we filmed that show in 2015. We filmed season 9 in 2000, or season 9. We filmed season 2 in 2009. So I had a good chunk of time to really like work my way and figure out who I am and what I'm doing and figure out the business and all that stuff. So when I actually got to like show it to everyone, it was very cool that everyone was receptive. Yeah.
Looking back on your experience, do you regret saying choices and thank you?
Choices. 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 Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, not at all. I mean, thank you was literally like, that wasn't thought out. That was just something that I would just, if I would do a gentle read or some bullshit, I would be like, thank you at the very end of it. It was just something I did. I realized not too long ago, actually, that I got it from a show that Ryan Murphy made back in like 99. It's called Popular and it was on the WB. And one of the characters on that show, her name was like Nicole Julian. And when she would read bitches down, she would always end it with thank you. And that just always stuck in my head. So I'd done that for years prior. So when they showed it so many times, they made it seem like it was really like a catchphrase when it wasn't, you know, that like back and forth, me and Ru going, thank you, thank you, thank you. Like that was edited to be that way. But I mean, having a catchphrase like thank you, I mean, that's just polite. So that's not negative. Choices, I don't have an issue with either, because that was something that me and my friends were saying before the show. I said it like once or twice, and production was like, we really like that. Say that more. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna follow the rules, whatever works. So no regrets on that stuff.
Well, you end up coming off AllStars 2, and you end up having a musical trajectory. You end up releasing a lot of music. You have Hurt My Feelings, like Sia. Like I remember, baby, don't hurt my feelings, baby, just hurt my feelings, yeah. That was like the jam. That music video was the jam. I just like remember being so in awe, and I was like, okay, this girl can sing. She can put out a beat. She can like make me want to dance. Like looking at
Thank you.
Of course. I don't know. I was talking about thank you. So looking at your music and looking at where you are now, do you plan to release more music?
Yeah, totally. I love doing music. I'm never gonna sit here and say that I am the best singer, you know, like I'm not Adele, I'm not Beyonce. But I like the process. I was writing songs and stuff back when I was like a teenager. I had a little song that I recorded on some like cheap like music maker software that I put on my laptop, and I recorded it in my car just because I just thought the acoustics would be great in my car. And like I'd been dabbling in that for a while. So like when I had the opportunity to do music, like back in 2010, I, you know, grabbed it up and I was like, work, let's do this. And so, yeah, it was super cool to, like, the few little pop singles that I had in like the early 2010s where everything was like auto-tuned out the ass. It was a moment. But I love the stuff that I've done, you know, since the Same Parts single, which did crazy well. I was so surprised by the reception to that single. Yeah, and then doing like the album T1. I love that stuff.
Speaking of collaborations, you had a little cameo in Miss Taylor Swift's 2019 video, You Need to Calm Down.
Yeah.
Ooh, how in the world did that come to be? And what was that experience like?
I think I just done a couple of gigs in Canada, and I got a call from one of my agents, and they were like, hey, are you free this upcoming week? And I was like, I mean, yeah, why? And they're like, someone wants to do a music video. And I'm like, okay, who? They're like, Taylor Swift. I was like, fuck out of here. Fuck out of here. But they're like, yeah, man, and they want you to do an Ariana look. And I was like, well, shit. I mean, I guess I get home tomorrow, so let's do this. And so, yeah, I just was told over the phone, and then they confirmed, and I got home, and I think I had 2 days before leaving for LA to get shit together. So luckily I had that pink floofy dress already in my closet from like a photo shoot I had done like the year before. And I went out and I made a new Ariana Grande wig and did what I did. I made it over to LA, and yeah, that was crazy.
So one thing a lot of artists end up getting sometimes when they use drag queens in their music video or in their songs or their promotional campaigns is that they are, you know, using the gay community just to be able to sell singles and stuff. And that was a little bit of the flack that Taylor got for that. What do you feel about that whole issue?
People are going to be upset either way. You know, if you never put any gay people in your videos, and they're going to read you for that. So then if you do, they're going to read you for that. So it's like, whatever, just do what you want to do. She was working closely with Todrick. You know, Todrick was the one that helped her pick the drag queens for the video. So, you know, it was gays helping gays get further. Taylor Swift giving an opportunity and wanting that message to be brought across in her video. I thought it was great. And, you know, people are just always going to be pissed off about something. So whatever.
So you end up getting a VMA because the music video ends up winning. What was that like? And do you have that VMA?
Oh, I do have the VMA. I did it. I got one. My name is there. You cannot see it, but it'd be there. Yes. Yeah, that was a big, big, big deal for me. Yeah, I got that call. It was maybe a week or two before, and she wanted us to like perform with her, which I was like, that's crazy. So yeah, God, if I can be a man. The performance was great. Like, got to rehearse with her. She was super sweet, really down to earth. All the girls were there, except for Adore, because she was filming something else. But it was just a great experience overall. Like, when I was a kid, I was like, I'm gonna make it to the VMAs. And then like I got to walk the carpet and walk the show in 2016 with a lot of the other girls from AllStars too. And then I was like, well, one day I'm gonna get up there and I'm gonna perform. And I didn't think that one was gonna really happen, but I got to be like a backup dancer, so that was cool. You know? And then she did say like, bring a change of clothes because I want you guys, if we win, especially for the award, which let me word it completely correctly. This was for the video of the year. She won twice, but there was also like, I believe, video with a positive message was one of the ones that she won. But she was like, if I win, I want you guys to come on stage with me. So yeah, we got to, you know, join her on stage when she got to win, and Jay Jolie, they tried to give her the award because they thought that she was Taylor Swift. So that was quite the moment. Yeah, it was a crazy, amazing experience.
That's like really cool. Like that would be like one of the top things that I would want to do. Like win an award on a stage and then like you have it right in front of you. Oh. So
yeah.
One thing that I do want to ask about is that you've spoken out before about you had considered transitioning before. You did like that had been a thought in your head. Looking at Drag Race and looking where things are today, do you think that trans men and women and bio queens and stuff should be able to be on the show?
Oh, absolutely. Why not? I mean, drag, you know, according to so many people, is just, you know, your expression. Like every day is drag. Everything you're wearing is drag. So why not bio queens? Why not trans women, trans men, drag kings? Like I could understand how possibly a certain challenge would not lend itself to being easily adaptable to drag kings and drag queens at the same time. I understand that concept. But in the way of bio queens being on the show, why not? Because it's not, I think some people's ideas is like, well, that's not really like transformative, but like it definitely is. Some of these bio queens look more like men in makeup than we, you know what I mean? Like, it's very transformative and it's still the same expression. In the show, we all watch it. It's really not about how easy it is for you to transform. It's about your personality. It's about how you connect with the audience and how you connect with the judges. There are a whole bunch of really pretty girls. If you don't have personality, you're not gonna last. So I think that definitely trans women, bio queens, you know, come on board, get in there. I'm down for it.
I approve of that message. I like that message a lot. So we're getting into a topic which I'm going to give you the floor to talk about and discuss. So in October of 2019, you know, there ended up being a mugshot of you that got plastered around on TMZ, if you didn't know about that. But you ended up taking that I wouldn't even say opportunity, that's the wrong word to say. You ended up taking that situation and you ended up taking that situation and you turned it into merch and you quickly like kind of took over the situation as opposed to having other people kind of come at you and stuff. So I'm going to give you the floor to say whatever you want about that moment and how you ended up coming on top to be able to do that. Like what in your head led you to do that?
Got you. Well, yeah, so it wasn't the most, like, one of my most proudest moments in my life. It was just a really, overall, like, involving the situation, it was very much avoidable from multiple different angles. Could have been avoided. I take my responsibility for whatever part I had in it. It wasn't major. It was just more so, like, embarrassing, but, like, there were no fines. I did not do any jail time. Like, I didn't have to pay a dime or anything. It was cool. I think some people were worried, like, oh my God, she is in jail. Like that, it wasn't that way. But yeah, so the whole thing was I asked about the mugshot and I was like, is this public? You know, is this for the public to see? And they were like, no, it's just for our database. And I was like, okay. And then once I hit social media, it was there, yay. And yeah, and from what I understood, it was that it was sold from someone to someone. I am not sure, but you know, I always like to think the best way to get from underneath something that's negative or just shitty is to get on top of it and ride it to the bank. So I just hit up Drag Queen merch. I gotta shout out Drag Queen merch and Bible Girl. I was like, yeah, let's make some merch out of this. And that was like the day after I made that request. And then I believe that night or the night after, there was the merch and it was for limited time. I'm like, what else? I'm just gonna make this many, honey. I also did an event where I performed and it was called the Disorderly Conduct event with Tatianna. And I got to connect with HIPS DC, which is a great organization that helps the LGBTQ plus people in the DC area involving like sex work or drug use or any of those types of things. So I worked with them and we did an event at Trade in DC that same week, and we raised some money for a good cause. And yeah, so I just took a negative into a positive because it's like, what else are you gonna do? I guess I was kind of hard on myself when it happened, but then it's kind of like, we're all human, we all fuck up. I'm not perfect, I'm never going to be, so that is what it is. You just gotta move on and keep it positive.
Exactly. And I mean, you really did take the situation and you kind of turned it out. And I'm sure for you too, like, it was a learning experience. You probably learned some things, and then from there you move on and you go.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's just like, just in general, like, you don't necessarily know, like, when someone fucks up in life or whatever, you don't necessarily know what's going on in their life. There's things, you know what I mean? Like, you see with anyone in, like, not the public eye, because I don't think of myself in the public eye, but like, you know, you see people like on Instagram or, you know, those type of characters or celebrities, and, you know, bad shit will happen, but you never really know what's going on in their life. So like, yeah, it was just kind of, I guess, very much a learning experience for me because, you know, people go through some shit and it shows itself in weird ways. So there you go.
And one thing the fans want to know is, are there ever going to be more episodes of Tea with Tati?
Oh, I hope so, totally. With Tea with Tati, that's done with World of Wonder. They're based in LA. I'm over here on the East Coast in DC. So when we've done Tea with Tati, it's always been me going out there to either film a video or do something in LA where I just take extra time and I stay there and I film like 6 episodes in a day. The last time that I did Tea with Tati was when I had gone out to LA to film the video for Sia. So, you know, I went out there, I stayed with Jessica Wilde, Jessica, and I did the Sia video and I did Tea with Tati. I hadn't really had the time to get out there and do that yet, but I do hear everyone, every time I go live on Instagram or I post a picture, there's always about 3 people that are like, are you doing more Tea with Tati? So I definitely plan to, hopefully, fingers crossed, sometime soon, but we're in the middle of a pandemic, so I really can't hop on a plane and get out to LA. So hopefully by the end of the year, maybe next year, something. Who knows what's really happening, so. But yes, I plan to.
And another thing that is currently going on, you said a pandemic, we're in a pandemic, and then we also have been having, you know, a big issue, and I think it's a lot of people are realizing about police brutality and the things that are going on now and the protests and being able to fight for equality, especially for Black people. So my question for you is more so on the racism in the drag community. Have you experienced that?
You know, here's the thing. So I'm Black and I'm white. I am biracial. I am mixed. But I also have a healthy dose of white privilege because people do not know that I'm Black just by looking at me or from watching me on 2 seasons of Drag Race, because for some reason they have never said that I was Black on the show, even though I definitely had said it multiple times while filming my interviews. So I see it from, I'm offended when I see the stuff, but it's never pointed at me. And that is, you know, super, it's a problem. And I don't necessarily see it because I've never experienced it while filming any of those type of situations. It's definitely the fandom, because these little, you know, assholes online, you know, they want, if a white queen, if they don't like her, then she's a bitch. But if they don't like a Black queen, oh, well, she's the N-word. And it's completely ridiculous. And it's disgusting. And it needs to stop. But it goes right along with what's happening right now, where people are not being treated the same across the board because of the color of their skin or because of preconceived notions about the color of their skin, which is really disappointing. I never understand why in the LGBTQ plus community that there can be racism when we've been oppressed for, you know, a really long time as well. Like, why would you not automatically connect with someone else's struggle? And I tell you, these white gays out here don't know how to act. Point blank, period. they're always the ones saying some shit that, you know, just with this past season, a lot of people online and stuff were saying some real like nasty shit. And it's just like, what are you doing? Like, it's enraging. It's enraging.
Well, let me ask you this. For people that are white or are, you know, cisgender, gay men, or just straight or whatever it is, what do you think that white people can do to be able to help in causes like this and to be able to help with like Black Lives Matter and to be able to help in the community? Like, what can they do if they don't know already?
Like, if they don't know what to do to help, or if they don't know what to do to not be an asshole?
If they don't know what to do to help.
You know what I mean? I mean, if you are white and you want to help in this situation, like, obviously call your friends on their racist bullshit. Talk to your families, talk to your friends, keep them informed, explain why people feel the way that they feel. And if it's someone that's in the LGBTQ plus community that is being that way, you need to explain to them exactly why that is completely fucked up. I don't know if I can curse here, but it's the internet, so whatever. Explain exactly to them, like, why that's fucked up, why that is completely ridiculous. You know, the reason that gays get to march in a pride parade is because of what? Rioting. And you know who was a big factor in those riot stuff? They were, you know, drag queens and trans women and gay of color that did that. So, you know, you want to prance down the street in your rainbow jockstrap. Well, you know, you have people of color to thank for that. So you need to get on board. I don't really have a lot of sympathy for people who play ignorant, though, because it is 2020. If you want to find out why something's racist, you can Google it, but people don't really care because it doesn't affect them. And there's a lot of privilege in the gay community, and it's just when it doesn't affect them, you know, they don't give a shit sometimes. Not everyone, obviously. I'm just saying the ones that are problematic.
I think that's the biggest thing, is just literally just taking the time to research and learn too, because, you know, I was brought up in Memphis, Tennessee, and brought from a, you know, a pretty conservative family. So it was an issue pushed all around me, racism and everything. And I think the biggest thing that I just ended up taking is literally, like you said, like Googling things, listening to podcasts, listening to, you know, Black people who are your friends, like listening and just asking questions. At the end of the day, it's just asking questions and doing your research, because, you know, you're sitting there and you're privileged, or you're sitting there and whatever, and, you know, you're not experiencing it. So who are you to say that they're not experiencing it? Because you don't know.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And like, there was a point that you made. You said, in podcast, as someone that you know. Yeah, I'm with you. I was going to say something, but it lost my mind. So go ahead.
You're all good. So as we're closing all of this out, I do have a few personal questions for you.
Sure.
Looking at your whole career and what you've done and all of the great, amazing things you have under your belt already, is there anything that you haven't done yet that you are looking forward to doing or want to achieve?
Yeah, like I've done some big things. I've done, like, obviously I've done a whole album, which was exciting, and singles that were successful. I have a fragrance choices that is available. These are like big things to me. So I just keep on adding to the list, just because I always think at first, like, oh, that's not going to be a thing. And then, you know, then it's a thing. So like, I'd love to try my hand at acting. I've never really tried that before. I did like theater when I was a kid, but like nothing professional. But I'd love to do something in the way of acting. I'm coming from a place of yes. So a lot of things, I don't even know if I really want to do them, but then I'll get offered to do something cool like that. And I'm always down for those type of new experiences. But yeah, I definitely like to try my hand at acting, and that's where I'm at right now. And obviously, you know, I want to have a hit that's on Billboard and not just like a niche chart. I want to be somewhere on Billboard that's like a pop chart or something.
You want to be the
that's
next
far-fetched.
Britney. The next Britney. Move out of the way. It's Tati.
Right? Girl. But yeah, something, you know, I'd like to do that type of stuff. So I'm down for it if anyone's watching.
What do you think the biggest misconception of Tatianna is?
There's so many. I guess some people have an idea about me that I am like airheaded or like not the brightest, which is really not true. Quite intelligent, very aware of shit. Also, I think that sometimes people think, maybe it's in person, I do have a really strong resting bitch face, but sometimes I think people think that I'm like full of myself or like cunty and just like nose in the air type of shit. And that's like definitely not who I am. I'm very, I'm just me. I don't think of myself as being extraordinarily special. I always think of myself as being given an opportunity, and by luck, I have ended up here, and I just keep going with it. So, yeah, I guess those are the two biggest ones that I feel like I've seen a few times that didn't sit right with me. I'm sure many other people think incorrect things about me, but I can't. We would be here all day trying to decipher those situations. So.
And one thing in your community that I've noticed, your local community that I've noticed, is that a lot of gay bars and places have been shutting down in DC.
Yes.
Terrible. What's your thoughts on that? And do you think more things are going to open up, or do you think the community's going to move somewhere else, or like what's going to happen?
Well, you know what it's called? It's called gentrification, and that's the T. Yeah, a lot of gay spaces have closed, but I don't think it's just DC. I know that in a lot of other cities, like big clubs have closed. Like I know like a lot of huge clubs in DC, a lot of big clubs in like New York have closed or whatever. A lot of that has to do with social media. Like now, like back in the day, you get all dressed up and go out to the club looking for some dick. But now you can just hop on an app and find some dick next door. So that kind of cuts down on people's need to be social. Yeah, no, in the way of DC, like things have closed down, definitely because of gentrification and whatever. But I do know that there are a lot of places that are staying open and some new clubs that are on the horizon. So I think that DC will be just fine keeping the Gayborhood alive and well. Yeah, we're just going through a transitional period at the moment.
And what's next for Tatianna? Do you have anything in the pipeline? Is there anything that you have under wraps?
I mean, I'm starting the beginning processes right now of working on new music, writing and finding tracks and stuff. So I'm doing that. I mean, there's no time period that I'm thinking that things will be released or anything. It's very preliminary because I always have to, so sore. This chair is not comfortable. I usually have to like travel and stuff to record because that's just where my producers tend to be. So can't do that now because of good old Rona. But yeah, so I'm working on that stuff. And other than that, like I had some big events coming up, but everything got canceled because of the Rona. So really, I don't know. I don't have any huge, big plans just because. Yeah.
If you could, for one day, live in another drag queen's shoes, past or present, whose shoes would you choose to fill?
That's a good one. Damn. If I could be in another drag queen's shoes. You know what? Take a sip of wine real quick. It's an amazing
What's your wine of choice? What is that?
Oh, Pinot Grigio.
That's the only way to go.
I don't know. That's such a hard one. Let me go through in my head. I feel like being detox for a day would be fun. Just because detox is detox. Also, detox has like a Rolodex of dick. So like, I feel like being her for a day, it would be set that I was going to be laid at some point during that day, if not just throughout the day. I think it's going to be a detox. think it's gonna be a detox. Yeah, live a day in that body, you know?
So the last question I have for you is, what is a message or words of wisdom that you have for the LGBT community?
Because it is Pride Month, yes. Words of wisdom for the LGBTQ community. Hello, gays. I would say the best thing is to just know where you come from, to be able to know where the hell you're going, especially right now where we are with our social climate and things. We need to stick together more than ever, and that includes everybody from all walks of life. And just really band together, because we are so powerful when we are. And it's just a really important time. So that would guess would be my words of wisdom. I mean, they're obvious, but just want to reiterate the obvious, you know?
Sometimes the obvious one needs to be heard, because hearing and knowing.
Y'all ain't listening all the time. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Tatianna, for being here. Let me expose you. Where can everybody find you on the socials?
On the socials, I am Tatianna Now on Twitter. I am Tatianna Now on Facebook. I don't use Facebook, though. I am Tatianna Now. There's something else. There's another Tatianna Now out there. My Instagram is Tatianna Graham. And that's Twitter, that's Facebook. Oh, if you want to catch me on Cameo, that's also under Tatianna Now. Personalized messages, happy birthdays, or if you just want to talk shit, yes. And yeah, those are the big ones. I'm always on Twitter or Instagram, though. That's where you can really find my ass. So
there you go. And speaking of your Cameo, for the fans, if you comment below your favorite part of this interview, I will be gifting you a cameo from Tatianna. So, put your favorite part. What was your favorite part about this Tatianna interview? Give it a like, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and make sure if you love this series to keep supporting me on Patreon, that's below. But yes, give us your favorite parts, and you could be getting the same parts from Tatianna in a cameo. Oh.
Yes.
Well, until next time, I'm Joseph Shepard, and that right there is... Say your name.
Oh, okay. Tatianna. You told me that was coming up. All right, word.